a villain unstoppable? Is it their cunning?
Or their raw power?
It's me, Amanda.
I'm Connor.
And this is Top 10 Nerd, where today we will find out what unstoppable means to us, in regards to comics anyways, as we count down the top 10 Marvel villains who can't be stopped.
Let us know what Marvel villains you think are unstoppable in the comments. In at 10, Thanos. While usually portrayed as an evil, bent villain, many stories have depicted Thanos as having just a twisted moral compass and thinking that he's justified in whatever he's doing. The character's perhaps best known role came in the 1991 storyline of the Infinity Gauntlet, which was the culmination of several previous story arcs, like in the MCU, just in the comics, because you know they came first, which saw him successfully assembling the 6 Infinity Gems into a single gauntlet and then using them to kill half the universe's population, including many of its heroes, in an effort to earn the affection of Mistress Death, the living embodiment of death in the Marvel Universe. Yeah, that's right, Thanos wiped out half the universe in the comics to bone death. Although these events were later undone, it still just proves that never underestimate the power of horny.
Number 9, Uranos. Uranos is one of the coolest new villains we've gotten over at Marvel Comics. Sure, he isn't new in the sense of him being someone who just came out this year. He resurfaced back in 2021, rising to prominence in Kieran Gillen and Asad Rabish's Eternals comic book series, which was honestly short-lived. It was so good. But Uranos actually first appeared in a much smaller capacity back in the B story of a What If issue. What If issue number 24 from 1980 is considered his first appearance, despite it being a what if issue. He is obsessed often with destroying and eradicating all life, believing in contrast to most Eternals that the Celestials would be best served by the Eternals if both the humans and the deviants of Earth were destroyed.
In at 8, Galactus. Galactus is the sole survivor of the 6th incarnation of the multiverse. Originally, Galactus was a humanoid named Galen, born to the previous incarnation of Earth 616 on the planet of Ta, a paradise-like world whose civilization is said to have been the most advanced of any known universe at the time. However, the 6th Infinity and all its universes were in their final stages of collapse due to the multiversal renewal cycle, being consumed by the abstract entity known as the Black Winter. When the cosmos was going to meet its natural end, Galen was then approached by the embodiment of the 6th Infinity, the sentience of the multiverse. Basically, he was approached by Kevin Feige, who merged its essence with the mortal of Galen and creating the new multiverse, but also creating Galactus, the devourer of worlds. Yeah, I mean, the dude survived the universe, the multiverse resetting, so if that's not gonna stop him, I don't know, maybe Squirrel Girl will, by talking him down. Can't believe that that's a thing, maybe he shouldn't be on this list. But anyways, he possesses immeasurable power, like the power cosmic, and is just one of the most powerful beings in the Marvel Universe, having near limitless godlike power, and being considered an omnipotent entity. Dude's just mega OP if he hasn't eaten enough worlds, kinda like me.
Number 7, Hela. Hela is literally the goddess of death. How are you gonna stop that? She might not be the only one, but hey, that doesn't really matter. Either way, she has a sway over life, and that oftentimes cannot be beat. Even when Hela herself seemingly was destroyed, she actually returned, and for a while she was also teaming up with Thanos, which is an insane power couple that I don't think the world was ready for. I would still be interested to see what could happen with these two if they were truly both at the top of their game while being fully united on the villainy front.
In at 6, Mephisto. Yes, Mephisto is actually in this list. Your theories were right this time. Mephisto, an extra-dimensional demon, presides over a fiery pocket dimension he refers to as Hell, or Hades. However, it differs from the actual Christian concept of Hell, which is governed by Pluto in Greek mythology. Like Hades is governed by Pluto in Greek mythology. It's a separate thing, okay? Mephisto strategically labels his realm as Hell to capitalize on the belief of, you know, God, the devil, all of that stuff. So he's creating himself in the illusion of just absolute evil, which is, yeah, it's a good marketing strat. It's like the Blair Witch of demon marketing. His appearance typically resembles just a traditional demon, but it remains uncertain whether it's actually what he looks like or if this is just something that he throws on when he's going to the ball because, you know, he's like, oh yeah, I'm the devil, so I'm gonna look like a devil. He also accepts names that are just contributed to being devils, you know, like Mephisto is derived from Mephistopheles in the Faust legends and stuff like that. Just basically anything you want to call the devil or any name you have for the devil, he accepts. He's chill like that. But the freaking devil, Yeah, if history has taught us anything, you can't really stop the devil. The devil stops you.
Number 5. Apocalypse. When it comes to X-Men villains, Apocalypse is one of the best around. Definitely one of the most inevitable. Sure, right now he's more on the side of good because he's been unified by the cause that is known as Krakoa, the mutant nation, but I'm just waiting for the moment that he moves once more from an ally to an unbeatable villain. When it comes to Apocalypse, part of the reason why he is so hard to defeat comes from the fact that his mutant ability alone makes it nearly impossible to do so. Apocalypse basically has evolutionary sort of powers that allow him to adapt to almost any setting, bolster his strength and durability over time. His inherent ability allowed him to control his body at an atomic level when we're talking about his pure mutant ability, allowing him to adjust his body as needed depending on the circumstances of the fight that he's in. Add in the fact that his powers have been augmented by celestial technology over time, and the fact that he's also fully absorbed two different techno-organic viruses into himself, with his body overpowering and fully encompassing them into his own makeup. And yeah, you can see why he makes our cut. Oh, did I mention that Apocalypse also has a long history with magic, because that's also a thing now in the comics.
And for Carnage. When the Venom symbiote came to rescue its host Eddie Brock from jail, it left an asexually produced offspring behind. That spawn then bonded to Cletus Cassidy, who was a renowned serial killer in the Marvel Universe, through a wound in his hand, merging with his blood and becoming red and black in color. Now going by the name Carnage, Cletus returned to, being a serial killer, but this time with superpowers. Yeah, he's a recurring enemy, and quite the deadly one at that, okay? Eventually Carnage fought Spider-Man, and Spider-Man was defeated, realizing that Carnage was just another symbiote. Though he called on Venom to help, and then they were able to defeat him. But like still, okay, he had to get his enemies to help to defeat Carnage. That's weird. Spider-Man later also used loud noises to defeat both of them, but like that's just kind of a cheap shot in my opinion. But thanks to Cletus' psychopathic tendencies and the fact that he was created on Earth, he has more abilities than his father. A lot more. Like the ability to shoot projectiles out of his hands and then forming like razor sharp weapons on his hands to tear through innocents and enemies with chef-like precision, I might add. Yeah. Plus, Carnage can't be killed with fire, so that's definitely a vote in his favor. The dude's a serial killer who got superpowers. Yeah, that's pretty freaking unstoppable, and he's a fan favorite. Plot armor.
Number 3. Dark Phoenix. Probably the worst villain around and one of the most powerful ones out there has to be Dark Phoenix. The Phoenix Force is an interesting character entity because when it operates in a hero role, it's actually one of the most powerful forces of good in the cosmos. But with the ultimate power of the Phoenix also comes the temptation to lose control to it and turn dark. When this does happen, you are looking at a power that is epic enough to end all worlds and threatens to bring the very universe to its knees. Really, it all lies in the host that the Phoenix Force takes. The cosmic entity itself is really neither good nor bad on its own. But once someone becomes corrupted by its darker side, good luck trying to stop them or control them. In most cases, you have to hope that the Force either leaves the host of its own will and moves on to someone else, or that the person chooses to sacrifice themselves to protect others and regains enough control to even be able to do that.
But ultimately, in number 2, Green Goblin. Speaking of how many times will they come back from the dead. After gaining heightened strength, intellect, and regenerative abilities thanks to the formula that he took to become a goblin, Norman Osborn survived being impaled by his glider, but no one knew. Escaping the morgue, he concealed his identity and evaded capture to flee to Europe. And then he comes back, because of course he does, he's freaking the Green Goblin, and then his secret gets exposed to the world. But despite this, he ends up getting captured and imprisoned, but then manages to escape again. And then during the last jailbreak, S.H.I.E.L.D. apprehended him near France and then returned him to his highly secured cell now, initially held in the raft. Norman continued to grapple with the goblin in his brain, but he ends up escaping again. You know the drill by now. He was secretly moved to a special containment center where he encountered the father of Colmere, but like, come on, okay? He ends up escaping every single freaking time because he's the Green Goblin and he's Spider-Man's like most famous villain and he's like the most iconic one. So yeah, they're not gonna kill him off or they're not gonna permanently stop him because he's such a moneymaker. Are you kidding me? Half of the people who went to see No Way Home went to see No Way Home because of the Green Goblin. You know I'm right.
Number 1. Juggernaut. I mean, come on. It's in the name. I have to include Juggernaut on this list. While he might not have the ability to fully control and manipulate the atoms that make him up like Apocalypse, or to warp reality like the Phoenix Force, and he might not be quite as iconic as someone like the Green Goblin, I would still consider him to be the most unstoppable villain around, considering he is literally known as the unstoppable Juggernaut. That being said, lately in the comics, Cain Marko has actually been turning over a new leaf, but this also goes to show how unstoppable he is, not just in his body, but also in his mind, with him setting out to become more of a heroic figure and even rebelling against Sidorak, who he was once the avatar of. Cain has become so unstoppable, not even Sidorak can control him now, with Cain using materials that Sidorak left on Earth to forge his new armor. As such, Juggernaut is no longer Sidorak's agent tied to his will, but instead is actually free to choose his own path. As a villain though, Juggernaut also still happens to be one of the hardest villains to beat, whether he's linked to Sidorak at the time or not.
So that's all we have time for today.
Who do you think is the most unstoppable?
Be sure you let us know down below.
Thanks for watching and stay nerdy, YouTube. Bye.